When Rome first set foot in Spain in 218 BC, their commanders believed they were beginning a simple extension of empire. March in, plant the eagle standard, force a treaty, move on. That was the routine. That was the Roman way. But Spain, Hispania, was not a land that accepted routines. It was a land that chewed them up. The moment the legions crossed the rugged coastline, they realized something was wrong. This was not a province waiting to be conquered. This was a battlefield waiting to swallow them. Mountains stacked like walls, valleys so narrow that even a single mistake could doom an entire legion, rivers with currents strong enough to drag armor into the depths, and above it all, tribes watching them. Dozens of tribes: Iberians, Celtiberians, Lusitanians, Turdetani, Cantabrians, Asturians. Each tribe with its own king, its own symbols, its own pride, and absolutely no intention of kneeling. Rome had fought Carthage, Macedon, Persia's successors, but none of those empires prepared them for Spain. Their first battles weren't victories, they were warnings. Entire Roman scouting parties vanished without a scream. Arrows flew from invisible angles, spears came from behind rocks. Roman commanders couldn't even figure out which tribe they were fighting. Sometimes 3 tribes attacked on the same day, then disappeared into the landscape like ghosts. This wasn't traditional war. This was the land itself teaching Rome a lesson. You are not welcome here. And right in the middle of this chaos stood 2 Roman brothers, Publius Scipio and Gnaeus Scipio, tasked with stopping Carthaginian influence in Spain. They came with confidence. They died with regret. Carthaginian forces, Iberian mercenaries, and local warriors crushed their armies in ambushes so brutal that messages took weeks to reach Rome. But Rome did what Rome always did. They sent someone more dangerous. They sent young Scipio Africanus, the man who would one day defeat Hannibal. He brought discipline, engineering, tactics, and fire. Slowly, painfully, Rome carved out a presence. But the deeper they went into Spain, the more they learned a simple truth. Controlling the coasts meant nothing. The heart of Spain belonged to tribes who fought like they were made of iron, and the greatest symbol of that iron was a small hilltop city called Numantia. Numantia didn't look much: wooden walls, mud houses, narrow pathways, but the warriors inside were unmatched. They fought with spears, javelins, curved swords, and most importantly, strategy. They knew every ravine, every hiding place, every ridge the Romans didn't. They turned warfare into theater. Romans would wake up in the dead of night not to horns or drums, but animal roars. Numantine fighters wore wolfskins, bull masks, and deer horns, charging through the dark like spirits instead of men. Fear was their first weapon. Fire was their second. When the Romans set up supply lines, Numantines burned them. When the Romans built camps, Numantines attacked from cliff sides. When the Romans tried negotiation, Numantines sent threats. One year, a Roman general marched in thinking he could intimidate them. Within weeks, his army was starving. The Numantines offered peace, but on their own terms. Rome was humiliated. The Senate refused the treaty. That was the moment Rome snapped. They summoned Scipio Aemilianus, the destroyer of Carthage. Scipio marched into Spain with one command: end this enemy. But even he didn't dare fight the Numantians in direct battle. Instead, he surrounded the city with a massive ring of walls, towers, ditches, and traps. No food went in, no person came out. The siege dragged on for months. Inside Numantia, starvation became a shadow haunting every home. Families watched their final food rot away. Warriors who had fought Rome for years now faced a slower enemy: hunger. When Scipio finally broke in, he found silence. The defenders had chosen death over chains. Numantia was gone, but the war in Spain was not. A new flame rose in the west, a fire named Viriathus. Viriathus began as a shepherd, no armor, no wealth, no noble birth, but he had one thing: rage. Rome had betrayed his people, slaughtered his tribe, and taken everything from him, and he vowed to return the pain 100-fold. He forged the Lusitanians into a ghost army. They moved with frightening speed, up cliffs, across rivers, through forests. They attacked entire legions, destroyed them in minutes, and vanished. Roman generals feared his name. One wrote to the Senate, "He fights like a man who has died before." Viriathus became the nightmare Rome whispered about. He won battles Rome thought were impossible. He taught tribes who normally hated each other to unite. He embarrassed Roman commanders who thought themselves brilliant. But Rome doesn't lose forever. When they couldn't beat him, they bribed his closest friends. The men entered his tent pretending loyalty and killed him while he slept. When they returned for payment, they were executed on the spot. The message was clear: Rome rewards loyalty, not treachery. With Viriathus dead, the Lusitanians were fractured. Rome advanced, but victory still refused to come. Because in the north, high in the mountains, lived the Cantabrians and the Asturians. If the Iberians fought with strategy and the Lusitanians fought with speed, the Cantabrians fought with raw fury. They trained by running up mountains with stones strapped to their backs. They painted their bodies for battle. They fought with curved short swords that tore through shields, and they had no fear, none. When Julius Caesar campaigned in the region, he almost died in an ambush that wiped out most of his forces. Caesar survived. His pride did not. But the worst came decades later. Emperor Augustus, the most powerful man in the world, decided to personally lead the war. Emperors didn't do that. They commanded from Rome. They didn't sleep in tents or march through rain. But Augustus wanted Spain subdued once and for all. What he faced was a nightmare. The Cantabrians attacked from every direction. They pretended to retreat, then lured Romans into traps. They rolled boulders down mountains. They set fires to smoke out camps. Roman discipline meant nothing in forests where the sunlight barely touched the ground. Every victory Rome claimed cost hundreds of bodies. Every fortress built was destroyed a week later. Every message Augustus sent home sounded more desperate. Eventually, he resorted to the darkest methods Rome had: burning fields, destroying villages, relocating entire populations. But even surrounded, even starving, the Cantabrians refused surrender. Some warriors carried poison in the tassels of their hair to avoid capture. When captured, several men killed themselves on the spot. Others fought with their teeth when disarmed. Rome finally declared victory. Barely. The 200-year nightmare had ended, but the cost was beyond measure. Thousands of Roman soldiers buried on mountains no one would ever visit again. Fortunes drained, commanders disgraced, generals broken. Spain took everything from Rome. It took their youth, their patience, their confidence, their gold. But in the end, it became one of Rome's strongest provinces. The people who fought Rome for centuries eventually built Rome's legions, served Rome's Senate, and shaped Rome's culture. The land that nearly destroyed the empire became part of its spine. 200 years of blood created a strange kind of unity, one forged in fire, betrayal, mountains, an unbreakable spirit. And that is the true story of the longest war Rome ever fought. If you want more cinematic history like this, hit the like button and subscribe. More brutal stories are coming.